Okay, Eric, I think we've given everyone enough time to get in. Just want to go ahead and give yourself just a short introduction, just kind of, and then maybe just go over the original screen you come into in Core.
Yeah, start on the dashboard.
Yep.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Eric Webb. I'm a trainer here at BQE and have been so for roughly about the last 5 years. And I've been working with Michelle and previously Dan and now Andrew with getting Core set up. And what Core is essentially our project management, time and expense tracking and billing system. That will give us easier insight into jobs, how we're doing, give us the ability to make intuitive decisions quickly and efficiently, and also make sure we all stay billable. Make your lives a little bit easier, hopefully. I realize entering time and expense is not always making life easier, but I think in the long run down the road, it makes business a lot easier. So where we're living right now and what we're staring at is a dashboard screen. And what I'd like to just say is this is everybody's home screen. It may not look like this, but you will have a dashboard. And that dashboard in some cases may consist of 6 widgets. These are widgets here. And these widgets are going to be showing you exactly what you're doing, how you're spending your time, billable versus non-billable. Maybe you want to take a look at sort of a pie chart or a pie graph of how you're spending your time between overhead, non-billable, paid time off, and billable time or something like that. We also have some other widgets that may be used in the future, like to-dos or things like that, where you may have small little tasks assigned to you that may more serve as kind of a punch list or, like I said, for what it's worth, a to-do list. All of these dashboards in one way, shape, or form are customizable. You can add different widgets, as I mentioned before, to-dos, maybe some reimbursable expenses so that you get paid back. All widgets have different types of categories, like I said, charts, graphs, etc. And each one of those has an element that you can select or multiple elements, and you can see which one based on the description. When you create it, it'll ask you to size it. I usually keep it at the standard. If it needs another size, it'll tell you.
Yeah, sorry, Eric.
That's fine. This actually works in twofold for me. So this is fine. But what this is saying is you don't have security to preview this. So not all data is available to everybody in the system. This isn't a walk in the park in the Beckway group, right? This is more or less about you. So based on your security, what you're going to see or what you're allowed to see, there will be certain levels of permission in this system. It'll be extremely verbose as opposed to what you can or cannot do. Now, each one of these widgets has filters associated with them. These filters are going to be based on you, who you're logged in as. So if you log in as Donna or Ted, then that's what it's going to show. Ted's time, Donna's time. So I just wanted to point that out to everybody. You can also, under actions, you can customize, and you can actually delete widgets if you don't need it anymore. You can move it or you can resize it. Do not, under actions, if you hit delete, you will delete the whole dashboard. I've done it once or twice. And you can just save it. So just some quick metrics you can pull on yourself if you're ever interested. So what we're here for is time and expense. And under the time and expense menu, which is just about all you'll have access to, you're going to have 3 options. We have time card, time entries, and expense entries. Now, time card and time entries are going to be basically just time entry, but two different views, two different options. One very simple, the other one simple as well, but based on different criteria or a different layout. So I'm going to start with the time card because this is predominantly the best entry screen in my eyes. Now, the way it works is this is a 1 week time card. It's by the employee or vendor. And it is, like I said, at a week. We do have the option for a day view. You can enter time on a daily basis, which is really nice here. You can click on the day and just enter your time. So, quick couple of items here. The show employee, this will predominantly always be automatically selected to who we're logged in as. And frankly, you may not have any options, as we can see here. There are 5 requirements when you enter time. One of them is who you are. It's going to be automatic for you. You can't get that one wrong. The fact that it is 1 week, we need to make sure that we are in the correct period. Last I checked, it was not May. We are going into July. So I may want to come in here and move forward a week or two, or I can simply click on this date range and go select a date based on the month. And I can go forward a month and say, hey, today's the 28th. It will auto refresh and give me my correct period. Your period runs Sunday to Saturday. So requirement number 1, who you are. Requirement number 2, your project. Who are you working on? What are you working on? There's a couple of ways that you can search in the system. If you don't know what you're working on based on this list, or if it's just easy enough for you to type in Trailblazers, you can always start to type the project ID or name. If you know the client, you cannot search by the client. You can sort by the client if you wanted to, but for the most part, you're going to go by the project. Now, there is a wildcard search in the system. The wildcard search is the % sign. That would allow me to type in the word manufacturing if that's all I knew. Or if I just know the word contract, I could type that in with a % sign, and that will do a wildcard search of the project name. Not the client, but the project. Otherwise, you just select it right from your list, and that's requirement 2. Requirement number 3 is the activity you performed. What's the service I did? Project work or biz dev, right? One's billable, one is not. Activities are broken out by IDs and by descriptions. The description will auto-populate here, and predominantly this is what shows on an hourly invoice, not the ID. So if I did some project work, I see the activity in the description autofill. That's requirement number 3. And then requirement number 4 and number 5 are the date and how many hours you worked. If you would like to add additional notes or a memo to your time entry to accompany your 4 hours of project work, under More, you select Show Entry Details. You only need to do this once. When you do this once, it will now always good question. I'll get to that in just 1 second. The memo, you can type in here. Right? It's unlimited in data. You can type as much as you want in here, be as long-winded as you'd like, but it is a memo that will accompany this 4-hour time entry on the 28th for Joule project work. When you've completed your time entry, you can click anywhere off of that and it will auto-save. You can now see that I have a memo based on this little caret drop-down. If I click on it, it'll show me my memo, and I can either edit, add, or whatever I need to do for it. If I work on Joule and project work this week again, I just continue to enter my time here. I did 8 hours on Tuesday as well. Right? Whatever. You know, it's just, it is what it is. And the memo can be whatever you'd like it to be. It's specific to the time entry, and they auto-save themselves. They will also auto-approve, so you don't have to worry about anything after that, right? This screen is very simple. That's the point of it. There's not a lot of detail. There's not really any more detail we can get from this. If we work on the same project in shoes, but a different activity,
don't wear open toe.
Hello. Project, new activity. And we enter our hours. So it's predicated on the delineation between the activity for the most part, or the project. If you're working on the same project, different activities, it will require a second line. As you can see, I saved that one without a memo. Okay, let's see here. A typical, what I'd rather see in a typical week, what you do in a typical week, this is what I would think you would do in a typical week, whether you're entering your time on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. This is one of the views that we have. So if you are entering your time on a daily basis, you are entering it by project and task based on your number of hours. We have another screen as well that is much similar to a line item type list. Here are the 3 entries that I just entered off of that other screen here. This is more of a broader view because I can look at extended periods of time. Maybe I need to look at a month. Maybe I need to look at a couple of weeks. This gives us that ability on this screen here. They're transparent in where you enter and where you view. The goal is to try to get this time in here. Now, whether you're entering the time all on a Friday afternoon or whether you're entering the time on an daily basis or as the day goes, we have either a very simple view for those that are just wanting to enter their time maybe at the end of the day, or they may come in, like I said, at the end of the day and just come in and enter what I did on Monday. Once this time has been entered and saved, based on the settings that we have set, that's all you need to do as far as time entry goes. If there are memos required, great. Then you can enter your memo right here. And it won't allow you to save the entry if there are requirements of that nature. Now, if you bill on a daily basis and not on a weekly, not on an hourly, which a lot of folks will do, Some folks may have a specific rate for that task or that employee that's being billed on a daily rate. And therefore, for that activity, they may use the hours as one to signify a day.
Do you mind if I jump in there for a second, Eric?
Sure.
So the way we have it set up is if you do bill on a daily rate, we just have them enter a standard 8 hours, and that will apply a daily rate for that day.
Okay, perfect. So that answers that. So I think it works just the same way, and that is another way you can work the rates in or on a rate schedule for the project, broken out that way. All time entry screens, you have the ability to provide reports for yourselves. If you'd like to look at any reports based on your time entries, you can run those as well. There won't be much in the way of bigger, expansive reports. This always runs in a week on this particular screen here. You can move forward, backwards, up and down. Actions that you have, you don't need to worry about here because you are not submitting your time. Your time will be automatically submitted and approved for you the minute it's saved. So that's one less thing you have to worry about. And under the more, we have the hide entry details or show entry details so you can enter your memo and the reports that you may want to run. Now, one particular thing about this screen I just want to touch on is the fact that when we came into this screen, it was sitting in the end of May. When you log into CORE, under Beckway Group, you will have something that says User Preferences. User Preferences, if you go into time, you can default that time card to the current week we're in, so you never have to worry about switching your dates. That saves on a lot of error. You also have the ability to set up a setting where that screen will autofill your previous X number of project and activities for you on a weekly basis, so you don't have to continue to do it. And then you can just go in and type your numbers in. If you're working on the same thing for the next 2 or 3 weeks, why not? That's under Beckway, User Preferences, and then if you go to Time, you can set those two for the bookends. Save it. Now that time card, it's 1 week. It's very simple. There's not much to talk about there. There's 5 requirements for time entry. What have you done? What are you working on? Or what did you work on this week? What service or activity and what project? Now, most of your projects are going to have the activities already level set for them. So you'll have choices. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew.
That is correct. There won't be, almost all projects will have project work and biz dev. If you don't mind, could you look at what the Trailblazers activity codes have? Because Trailblazers is where you'll put in a lot of your bench time activities. There will be a little bit more choice there, all unbillable. You could record your vacation, your PTO, modules, onboarding, and then if there's ever anything that you think would be nice to track that's not listed there, I'm always open to suggestions, so just shoot me a note, and I can add a new activity code for the bench time.
And there is bench time. Now, billable and non-billable time, it's entered the same way. So, no difference there. You get daily totals, you get weekly totals, and you also get line item totals on this particular view. New entry line is always at the top. That's about it. Any questions? Okay. I'm going to go to time entries real quick. I just want to kind of touch on this screen really quickly, and we should be good to go, and then into expenses, and then we'll be done. So the time entry screen, which is located right here, this particular screen is more of a line item view, right? And it allows us to look at big periods of time. There is no parameters for time entry. When you enter time on this screen, you select the date. So it's very manual. This is what I see a lot of folks doing when they enter their time as the day goes, not at the end of the day, but as the day goes, they're entering half hour here, quarter hour here, hour here, 2 hours here. They may use this because it's quick, it's easy, it autofills today's date, and you can just go through to your project, enter your activity and your number of hours. And then you click done. Now, the nice thing about this screen is there's more info you can see. So I would direct you to the more and show hide columns. Here you can see the memo. You can also see your bill rate. You can see whether it's billable or not, which kind of opens up the time entry a little bit more. This is the screen that folks come to when they are going to bill and they're getting ready to bill. If they need to make any edits or they need to change a bill rate or a cost rate or something like that, they may come into this screen and do that. You don't get this kind of view in the simple time card screen. So as you can see, you can go right, left to right and just fill everything out. Here's my memo. You're done. Now, over here on the left, you'll see these orange. This means it's non-billable. Just a visual cue for you. It's not anything you did wrong. There's your bill rate. This is the billable flag, meaning whether the entry is billable or not to the client. Here are your hours. Here's the description. Some of these you cannot turn off because they're required. This particular item here is the attachments field. This probably works best when you go into expenses. And you can go ahead and attach items like a receipt or something from your computer or from your phone. Just click in the blue and it'll ask you where you want to look. You can also attach Google Drive, Dropbox, or OneDrive if you guys use it, and attach from there as well. You get 2 gigs of Amazon Web Services with Core. Under More, we also have reports, the same reports as the other screen. You can also export this particular screen to a CSV if you ever have the need to do so. The other nice thing about these screens is there are filters. So if you're ever looking for something in particular, like just my billable time or non-billable time, there are a slew of filters in here that you can use, like billable, yes or no. You can look for just billable time, and it'll get rid of those other 3. You can delete entries as well, simply by clicking or selecting individual items under actions and delete it. You can also copy. You want to try to, you can't delete either, Andrew?
That's just a profile thing. You will be able to delete. Sorry about that, Eric.
Okay. Oh, that's all right. So yeah, your security will allow you to delete. All right. Now expenses. These are pretty simple. I mean, expenses are expenses. Cut out what anybody makes per hour, cut out any bill rate to the customer, and expense is based on a unit rate or a flat rate, right? In some cases, per diem. It's the same basis as the previous screen of our time entry. Now, what you'll see is that it's coming in under Andrew the vendor, because that's how we enter our expenses in Core, because we still use QuickBooks. So you will enter your time as your employee and your expenses as your vendor. Same idea. The only, pardon?
Could you just show them the drop down there just to show how to
This one here, yeah. Employee or vendor. Now, hopefully the first time you select your vendor record, you'll never have to do it again. So you can show employee or vendor, and then based on your security or your profile, you'll have access to just yourself or your own vendor record. This screen also allows you to sit there and look at expenses for different periods of time as you may see fit, a month, a week, etc. We select our project, and then we have expense items. These are the typical expenses that you may see or incur on a job or just in business in general. They have a billable value that's billable to the customer. There's also the reimbursement factor that is to the employee from Beckway. So if you have a team meal, you enter it, it comes with your description, the unit of one is auto-populated, and then you enter how much your team meal was. And you can apply a receipt if you choose to do so, and then you can click Done. And that saves the expense. You can also, like we did on the time screen, under More and Show Hide Columns, we can go show the billable flag if we needed to, or scroll all the way down and get that memo out there. And then you can add your memo. Now, other items that may you do like mileage, right? Something that has a cost rate. Now we may come and enter our units. I drove 65 miles, and I drove from A to B. Click Done. Now, Andrew, are you going to require a receipt per page? Per line, or would you require just one mass?
At the moment, we're doing it per line, anything over $25.
Okay. So receipt item attachment per line over $25. So that's how you would look at maybe a unit-based expense versus a lump sum. Nonetheless, still entered the same way, just the cost rate, if there is one, will come in. The minute you select this expense item, there is a cost rate attached to it of either something or nothing. And if it's nothing, that's how we treated the meals. We just enter a lump sum cost rate. But the mileage came in with 58 cents a mile, so we're going to do 65 miles. These also will be auto-approved, so you don't have to worry about it. The most you need to worry about is just getting the requirements in and clicking done. Any of these pages, if you lack a required field, it's verbose enough, it'll tell you exactly what you need. You can also run expense reports under More as well. Employee expense report. Pretty simple. Is there any need for the reimbursable flag?
They are all reimbursable so that you wouldn't have to look at that.
Perfect. That's what I figured. All right, cool. All right. Any questions? That's pretty much it for that piece. For the desktop piece, I should say. No.
I think that's everything we kind of talked about you going over. But yeah, if you could go through the app, that would be great.
All right, let me go get this. All right, let me get this, share my screen going. You see my screen?
I can.
Okay. All right. So let's do this real quick. The core app right here. All right. Open it up. It's defaulting for me to time entry, which is where it'll normally go. You have your dashboards. There are 3 dashboards at the bottom. These are the 3 that I use. Up here at the top left, this is your main menu. It'll show you who you're logged in, what company you're logged into, and then it'll give you your options. You'll probably have time and expense entry, messages, maybe PTO requests, probably not, visits, settings. Visits, probably only on iPhone. This tracks visits. This allows you to go into settings and track visits, like between 8 and 5 p.m. if I drive. Recommend that as maybe as a mileage expense entry. And you can say yes or no. It's helpful for a lot of people that are on the road a lot. If I click on time entry, it's a blank screen. This is where it all starts, right down here in this plus. It'll auto-populate to who you're logged in as. You can select your project. You can either start typing. You can use the percent as well, right? Just start typing it in. And it starts to give me exactly what it is. You select your project, then you select your activity. This respects any settings that you have on the desktop. So, Andrew, if you've limited your expenses or limited your activities per project, it will show that way, right?
Yep.
You select your activity, you select your project, your employee's already selected, your description is here. Now you click into your hours, 5 hours, next. There's your date, next. And then once you're completed, if you want to enter your memo, it's right down here. You can click in there and just type away. Go back to it. You'll see now it says view memo instead of enter memo, and then you click save. Non-billable, excuse me, unsubmitted time. Yours will say approved immediately. Yours will not say unsubmitted or unapproved or any of that. Yours will just say approved. Add another time entry for that same date, or you change your date. Either way, it's always going to default to today on your time entry screen. Up here, these 3 little dots, it allows you to look at a view. You can change your views, week, month, or year. You can select a filter if you wanted to filter your entries for some reason. You can show the info bar if you want as well. So you can kind of see what's going on. Bill amount, billable client hours, and standard hours worked. You can also change your date right here. Edit. That allows you to delete or copy. You don't need to worry about submitting. So I don't think you guys will be using that too often. But the real ticket is the plus, and then also understanding how you can search those project activity fields, knowing the kind of tip of using the percent as the wild card for manufacturing on that jewel one or something like that, right? Now, expense entry is pretty much the same type of interface, except obviously we see some unique expense-related items, and the date is from the other day. Project. Expense. Maybe I did some airfare, right? It auto-populates that. Again, it populates the quantity to 1, and then the unit cost is 0. Always 0. Markup, will be whatever the default markup is from that item, usually 0. Maybe there's something in there. Put your $25 in. June 23rd, not going to happen. It should be today. Okay. Oops. Not using a credit card. Don't have to worry about billable, reimbursable, or memo. You can enter a memo maybe, right? Documents, right down here. That's where your attachments go. You click on that and you hit the plus, and you can either hyperlink from your camera, from a picture you've already taken, or if you have files. This happens to be an iPhone that I'm showing you on. Okay, you hit that plus, and then you select your source. Once you've added your attachment, you can then just save it. Save and submit, or just save. I'm going to cancel personally. Excuse me. So that's basically how we would use our app for the expense entry. And how we would attach the documents would be either a picture right there, or we take one from already having taken one from our gallery, or from our camera roll, I should say. Messages, this is basically going to be
Can I have you show
instant
them,
messaging, etc. TT.
I have this. Could you show them just quickly the scan receipt button as well?
Yeah. Oh, whoops. It's up at the top. So this is OCR, right? So it's going to recognize from your receipt, so long as it's very legible. And even not so, it's really good. You can open your camera, have your receipt sitting out on your desk or something, and you can go ahead and scan it if you wanted to. Let me see if I have a receipt somewhere. I do. Of course not. I don't have a receipt on. But basically what you have the ability to do is it's going to look at the amounts, and then it will ask you to go ahead and put in, say, like the project you want to put it to, or the activity or the expense item that you want to put it to. You can either have it read it from a picture of a receipt you've already taken, which would be select from your photo gallery, or if you, like I said, have the receipt sitting there right in front of you, you can just have it right out on the table and open it from the camera, and then have it recognize the amount, etc. That's at the top of the entry. So you can do project. You can have all that filled out and then hit create from receipt and have it fill out the cost, etc. if you wanted to do so. and attach the receipt as well. I don't know if you guys provide receipt copies with any invoices to your clients. If you do so, that's another benefit. When you attach those receipts, if you happen to email any invoices to customers, that can be attached along kind of as a billing packet. Here's the invoice, here's the backup receipts. There are some settings in here that you can have. Save and add new, show start and stop time, show the client hours under time entry. Save attachments as a PDF under your documents for your receipts, etc. Enable notifications if you guys aren't using the timer, so that won't come into play. There's that visits tracking. It has to do with location services. I don't have it on. But then it allows you to set forth like a time range where you would want the core app to track your visits or suggest your visits when you drive somewhere. So you can say, like, I work 7 to 4, right, or whatever. And then it would only look at that time, not when you're driving to your kids' recital after work or whatever. I had driven to my mother-in-law's, and it had asked me that, and I realized because I didn't have the setting, I just had it tracking all the time, and it was like a Saturday, and it's like, would you like to add this as a mileage expense to core? And it was cool, but it was, once I found the parameters, it's like this would be more helpful for, my work hours, not when I'm out, on my own time. But that's only, again, available on the iPhone. So there's not too much in the way of settings. I have about the most basic access you can have, but this is a full app. For those that do have it, it is a full app. I mean, I have folks that are billing off of this. So from a timing and expense entry standpoint, it's pretty solid. It's very straightforward. And like I always say, everybody sleeps within arm's reach of their phone. There's no reason they can't get their time entry. And it's that easy to just go ahead and delete the timer and expense entry. Dashboards, like I said, are always helpful. Messages, PTO requests if you're going to use them. Otherwise, you can sign out. There's your notifications. You're not really in the realm for those yet because that's more submittal and approval, like when you're submitting your time to somebody and then you're waiting for them to approve it. But nonetheless, if at some point that does become part of the process, then those notifications will certainly come in helpful. And you can always click on them and go look at them to resubmit and approve you. And these go all the way back to 2017. Which, as you can see by that number, I don't read my notifications because it's just saying it's approved. There's no action for me to take. It's just letting me know that my boss looked at my time and I did it right. All right. Any questions? Anybody? Andrew?
I think you touched on everything that I wanted to. Does anyone have any questions?
I have one that you didn't mention, and that's in the app itself. You have to choose that vendor control option when you're putting in your expenses. And you have to switch to your receipt base, and I forgot to do that because it makes me do it every time I go to the receipts, every time I go to my expenses. Is there any way to make that default to the expenses to go to the right one? Because I had to re-enter some this week because I forgot at the beginning of the week.
That's a good question. I've had somebody else answer that, and I actually have that question posed out there because somebody had the same question you did. So at this point, I don't have a different answer to that, but I can certainly find out for you. So you're saying when you go in to enter your expenses, you can't switch, right?
I can switch, but I have to switch every single time. Every time I enter an expense, I have to make it switch. It pulls up the wrong one by default.
But you want it to default. It's not defaulting to your vendor record. It's defaulting to the employee record you're logged in as.
Correct.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I think that's going to be important because, like I said, the one reason we are entering time or expenses as our vendor is so it can be reimbursed out of QuickBooks. If we were reimbursing and doing the accounting out of core, we would enter our expenses as our employee because we have the reimbursable checkbox. So, that's a great point. I will, like I said, I'll put that back in because I've already got a couple of people that asked for that. Because it's true, it's coming up more and more now.
When does this become effective for use?
We are looking to have everyone input their time for the 6/17 to 6/30 billing period through CORE.
Okay, and what if it's not recognizing my email address? For whatever reason, I'm not being recognized. I can take that offline with you, Andrew?
Sure. So you actually don't enter an email. It'll be through an invitation. And, I'll make sure to resend. I'm sorry, who's on the line?
This is Donna Gaucher.
I will make sure that invitation gets sent to you right away.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, this is Jim Daniels. Nothing shows up for me under project, so it's not letting me enter anything in.
That I can also fix for you, Jim. That's just me assigning a project to you.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay. Well, thank you so much, Eric. That was incredibly helpful. If questions do come up as you are going through everything, please reach out to me, and I will try to help you to the best of my ability. I appreciate everyone coming on and attending. We'll be in touch with further instructions. Anything else you are?
Andrew, this is Chuck Schiffer. I do have one question on receipts. What about receipts for mileage? Is that required?
We do not require receipts for mileage. It would be nice if you could put a memo in, just kind of explaining very quickly what the mileage is regarding, but we do not need receipts there.
Okay.
And Andrew, this is Jim Daniels again. One more thing, just to be clear, we're only entering in core, right? We're not doing parallel and Expensify, right?
Correct. We are fully into core. You don't need to do anything parallel, nothing through Expensify.
Great.
Okay, great. Eric, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, everyone.